welcome to Mindless Entertainment. My name is Jesse Milestone, and there's just a few things that are still really bugging me about Captain Marvel. Now, if you're interested in seeing my full review, you can check that out on my channel, but today I just want to go through a couple things, just 5 things that to me simply fundamentally do not make sense in this film. Now, only one of them is really a spoiler, and I'll save that one to the very, very end, so if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want any spoilers, just turn off before we get to number 5. And they don't make sense for a variety of reasons. Some just are illogical. Some are I chalk up to bad writing, and there's one too that's just straight wokeness being dumb. So here we go. Without further ado, 5 things that don't make sense. That's 10, Jesse. 5 things that don't make sense about Captain Marvel. All right, number 1. Towards the end of the film, and again, this is not a spoiler, all right, this is just a thing that happens towards the end of the film. Nick Fury, spoiler, Nick Fury lives at the end of the movie. Oh my God, who saw that coming? He's writing up it starts out as the Protectors Initiative, and he looks up, sees a picture of Carol Danvers getting into the cockpit of her airplane that says Carol Avenger Danvers on it. And so he changes it to the Avengers Initiative. Wow, amazing. What a clever way to get the name of the Avengers, except that it's not! Because in addition to Avenger being a really stupid call sign for a pilot, there is no plausible reason why there would be a fighter jet with Carol Danvers' name painted on the side. This is a thing, names on jets typically happen in your squadron. That's what is based on rank in the squadron. Not everyone, especially today, not everyone gets one because there are just more pilots than airplanes. And even if your name is painted on the side of your plane, that is not necessarily the plane that you are going to fly. It is just a sign of honor. It gives you an extra sense of duty towards the airplane itself. It does not mean this is your plane. Now, Carol Danvers, as we learn, is a test pilot. We know that she has only ever been a test pilot. She presumably went from, flight school into test pilot because, as Maria Rambeau states very clearly in the movie, that was the only thing we were allowed to do. So she's not part of a squadron, and she doesn't fly her own plane because her actual job is to fly different planes, to presumably test different maneuvers in them and test them new equipment and stuff, whatnot for safety, and of course eventually becomes one of Marvel's test pilots for all of her crazy technology. So there's no plausible reason why there should be a fighter jet designated for her, therefore having her name on it. So that's one. When I saw it, it bugged me, and it continues to bug me. The whole point of her character is that, she never got treated with respect by the men, so why would they put her name on an airplane? It just doesn't make sense. The next thing that doesn't make sense, number 2, is when she goes and sees intelligence later on in the film. Now the world is a little more enriched based on her experiences. The song that's playing is Nirvana's Come As You Are. This doesn't make sense. Why? Because this movie is set in 1995. She vanished off to Creeland 6 years prior to the events of this film. That's 1989. Now, Nirvana formed in 1987, but Come As You Are, which was on Smells Like Teen Spirit, did not come out until 1991, halfway into her flying around Holla killing scrolls and shit. All right, so there's no plausible way that she can know that song unless somewhere off screen in her adventures through Earth, even though we kind of see most of them, that song popped up. And even if it did, presumably, right, this intelligence world is being enriched by memories that have something to do with her, that are relevant and meaningful to her. It seems really unlikely that a song that popped on the radio as she's on a very dangerous mission trying to accomplish important goals would have had an immense emotional impact on her in those 2 days leading up to the events of that. And there's, like I said, no plausible way that she had a prior emotional connection to the song that wasn't even written yet before she left Earth. So that just making no sense. You just wanted to throw in the Nirvana song that you thought was most popular because that was the whole thing. Let's pick 90s music that's not that niche, that's still super relatable, that everyone still really knows and likes. Because why would we make a 90s period piece with actual niche 90s things in it? That would just be logical. Why would we don't do things that are logical? Speaking of things that are not logical, here we go on to number 3. Number 3, something that is completely nonsense, and this is not in terms of reality or logic like the other two are. This is in terms of the MCU, the universe that Marvel itself has created, that these, whoever did the casting here is not operating within the bounds of. All right, because if you look at the history of the Kree, they're blue people. They can be pink. There's a derivation of Kree that are pink, that look like humans because they have pinkish skin. So that's fine. You've got Jude Law. That's all good. That's great. There is no derivation of Kree that's black. So why is there a black Kree? Now, don't get me wrong. I love Jaimin Hansu. I think he's fantastic. He is one of my favorite actors, period, end. But why? Why? Were you just afraid to make him blue because of all the outrage over Will Smith being the genie? Is that it? We just as a society are not comfortable turning black people blue? So after that outrage happened, they got to go quickly retcon and decolor him in post? Like, no, we can't turn black men blue. The world doesn't like that. That somehow goes against the principles of wokeness. So instead, you just have to violate the rules set out by what the Kree are, according to the MCU, to make sure you kept your diversity casting in there. Or maybe that's what it is. It's not really diversity if we paint him blue, because allegory is not a thing. It doesn't mean anything to us. We actually have to plop an actual man of color where you can see very clearly, because if we painted Jaimin Hansu blue, no one would know it was Jaimin Hansu, or that he's still a black man. We never would be able to figure that out if you painted him blue. So that to me is just this idiotic need to have your wokeness agenda, your uber diversity. We have to put people of color in here. But of course, because women are less important than men, what's her face, who played Minerva, that's okay to make her blue. That's totally fine. So that just illogical in the face of the MCU for no other reason that I can see other than, look at us, we did diversity, pat us on the back. We were afraid you wouldn't see our diversity if we didn't shove it in your face. So that is dumb. That's number 3 that I just really don't like. Number 4, this is the one I chalk up. This is a 4. This is the one I chalk up just to bad writing. And this is in the montage of Carol Danvers getting knocked down, getting back up again. There's a few things in here that don't make sense to me. The chief ones happen in the little bit where she crashes the go-kart. Now, she rides this go-kart, she flings it off through the hay barrier, flipping over and over, head over heels in the ground, cloud of dust kicked up, massive, horrifying crash at very high speeds. And she gets up with a bloody lip. A bloody lip. Now I get fine, she gets up, that's your whole conceit of the damn montage, but bloody lip, that's it. She has a bloody lip from this massive crash that should have put her in the hospital. She has a bloody lip, and that's not all. That's not where I stop with this one, right? It's not just the unrealism, the lack of realism over her injuries after this. It's the fact that her dad comes over, and it's fine if he comes over and he's like, see, I told you didn't belong. But he comes over, he's like, what were you doing out there? You don't belong out there with them. How could you think that you should be out there? In a way that seems like he didn't give his permission for her to be there, which is highly illogical because he obviously knew it was her in the car since he came right over to her after she crashed, and he's her dad. It stands to reason that he would be aware that she was driving this go-kart and gave his permission. Now, it's fine if he comes over and he's like, I told you so. Like, I let you do this just to prove you don't belong. But the way he comes over, it's like he never wanted her to be there in the first place and didn't allow her to be, that she somehow did it against his wishes, which I guess just furthers this idea that she's a rebel who goes against the rules, except in this instance, it just doesn't make sense. Now, I'd like to tag on this montage as well, because the other thing that bothers me was the type of jeering they were doing at her when she's swinging across the ropes. There's like 5 of them, and she's going from rope like 3 to 4 here, and they're like, you can't do this, you're not strong enough. And of course she falls on her ass, and once again, a fall that should probably have broken her back, and she's just fine. She's just totally fine. So once again, doesn't make sense in the terms of that. But against it's the type of jeering. The type of jeering seems like the kind that they should be making when she tries to go from rope number 1 to rope number 2, not rope number 3 to rope number 4. Rope number 1 to 2, they're gonna be like, you can't do this, you're not strong enough to do this. Rope number 3 to 4, she's obviously proven that she's strong enough to get from 1 to 2 to 3. Now is the point where they might say something like, you'll never finish. You're not strong enough to finish this. You'll never make it all the way. Things like that. So just the word choice, the writing of these, once again, to try to paint the kind of character they're trying to paint, but ignoring the reality of the situation in order to do it. So that's number 4. Bugs me a whole lot. Number 5, like I said, this is a spoiler. So if you don't like spoilers, right, we're going to talk about Nick Fury's eye. For number 5, and so in this film, or if you have seen, if you are familiar, if you have read the spoilers, Nick Fury loses his eye because Goose scratches it out. This doesn't make sense because it goes against his own this retcons information we've already been given in the MCU. It was a Winter Soldier where he says, last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. So how are we justifying, how are we paying off this line? Because of course, we all want to know how this happens. And we've had little bits of information like that one that tease how he might have lost his eye in somewhat whatever big and epic way. And we get cat scratch. So are you trying to imply that line previously meant last time he trusted someone and that someone was a cat? Last time I trusted a cat, it scratched my eye out. That seems a little different than trusting someone else in a life or death situation, even if the cat is a flirkin. Or are you trying to say last time you trusted someone as in you trusted Carol Danvers and this cat that's not really hers scratched your eye out? Either way, it just isn't logical. It doesn't make sense. It's upsetting because it's a very trite way for him to lose his eye given the mystery surrounding it leading up to that. So that bothers me. Those are my 5 things, guys, that just do not make sense to me in this film. Let me know if there's anything else, anything I missed. Drop that in the comments below. Anything that I didn't say that you think belongs in here, or if you agree or disagree or whatever. Press that like button if you enjoyed this film, because that's how we do. Guys, there's a screen popping up to take you to the video. Get involved with me. That is a bunch of links for different ways to get involved with my channel, including Patreon, social media, etc., and Teespring t-shirts. Guys, there are t-shirts. There are the Fifi's t-shirts. They are out now. You can get your own Fifi's t-shirt today. You absolutely should get your Fifi's t-shirts. There's 2 different kinds. There's No One Cares About Your Fifi's, and that hit me right in the Fifi's, and they're both excellent, designed by the amazing and talented Cody Sider. So please go check those out and consider getting your very own Fifi's t-shirt, or this t-shirt. That's still for sale out there too. That's Majism Force all over the place t-shirt. Anyway, love you all, and we'll talk again soon.